Welcome to episode 2 of the TDI. So just a brief update, we did drive the vehicle home. We bought it for $500 off of Facebook. And the previous owner had told me that the right headlights he could not get to keep working. So we're going to dive in and figure that out now. You start off by coming over here and popping the fuse panel. I pulled every single fuse and checked every one. I ended up replacing 6 fuses. And got all those fuses in. For those of you that don't know what fuses, these on the whole top row here and up are mini fuses, and this whole row and down are called ATC fuses. So after we replaced all 6 fuses, I came in here, stuck the key in the ignition, turned it on, and I didn't even get it started, and I immediately heard fuses fry in this panel here on the side. So I went ahead and turned it off immediately, just the key, not the motor. Turned the key off, came over here, checked them all again, and come to find out, fuse 18 and fuse 20 blew immediately. Which 18 is here, a little 10, which is the low beam, and then fuse 20, which is a 15 amp mini fuse, is for the high beam. So clearly there's something going on with right side headlights, you know, just as the previous owner said. So I came over here, and I'm going to show you guys on my other TDI. Well, actually, no, I'll keep it to this one for now. So I came down here, and I went ahead, and I found the right headlight wiring assembly here. Well, the wiring that plugs into the assembly. And I came and I unpinned this. I might not be able to do this one-handed. So I unplugged this plug right here from the headlight assembly. Give me one sec. Okay, so what I ended up doing was I took a flathead screwdriver and I put it right here, and I just worked it out of the headlight assembly. So this is the front right headlight, and here's the housing. So I disconnected that because I read on the TDI forums that sometimes the wires in the headlight themselves can get kind of melted from the running lights constantly being on, and that can cause you to short out fuses. So then I came back in here, replaced 18 and 20, which were the front right high and low beams, stuck the key in the ignition, and I instantly heard them blow again. So I checked all of the fuses again, and once again it was the front right low and high beams. So it's not in the assembly itself, it's got to be in the wiring. So that's where I'll show you how I figured that out on my other TDI. So I came here. Here is the plug that we unplugged from the right headlight. And so I just started following that around. And it's really hard to see and get on camera, but that wiring goes down, kind of hugs the chassis. It turns around here, and it goes underneath this fuel filter, and then it continues to travel through this side fender. It goes underneath this coolant tank, and then it comes out right here and disappears into your firewall. So on the silver TDI that I'm having the problems with that I just bought, all of these wires that my hand is covering right here, that's what it should look like coming out of the firewall. It was just a glob of melted wires right there. And what had happened was this little valve right there that I'm touching with my finger right here, that valve had broken where it 90s. It broke, and exhaust was pouring from where it's supposed to go into the EGR, and it's just dumping hot air directly on to this wiring harness, disappearing into the firewall. Now that wiring harness goes right here to your coolant. It goes somewhere, it disappears, another section of line disappears over here, and it might go to, I'm thinking, the right blinker on the side fender. And the wires continue to go, and they eventually tie into your headlight. So that's when I started pulling apart all of these wires right here. Here's what I eventually have it looking like. They just have a strand of electrical tape on them right now. So all of these were melted right here in a cluster, all touching each other, all shorting fuses. That ultimately ended up being my problem. So yeah, like I said, they're supposed to mount right here, 90 down from the firewall, disappear and go underneath your coolant tank, your fuel filter, and then come back up into your headlight. So that ended up being the problem for me. I hope you guys have a similar, if you have a similar problem, it ends up being a simpler solution. But long story short, I ended up taking out this entire reservoir, and I ended up taking off this this hose here that goes into the EGR, and it gave me plenty of room to just work on these wires right here. So possibly if you can't figure out what's going on with yours, that might be the problem. Real quick, what I wanted to add in here also is that for where that valve broke, there it is there, I just put on an EGR delete plate. That's where that plate goes, and that's how I ended up stopping all those hot exhaust gases from melting the wires after I had already bundled them up like this. So this isn't final product, this is just to make sure everything's going good, and we're eventually going to put some of this little I don't know, flex conduit around it and wire them up properly, and yeah, so back to it. So yeah, we got this thing up and running. I did already take it on a test drive. It seems to be running good. It's got way more power than my red one, and the red one here is getting 46 mpg. So I don't know, it's kind of like it's quieter than the red one. It's got more power than the red one. I have no idea what sort of fuel economy I'm getting with this one, what sort of horsepower it has, considering the guy has a Garrett turbo on there. So yeah, we're gonna, now that we got that problem sorted out, we do actually have a couple other issues. Right here by our vacuum pump, it's leaking quite a bit of oil right here. We're gonna clean that all up, and then actually down here by the oil filter right here, there's lots of fresh oil right here. So we're definitely going to be cleaning that up and trying to fix that. Yeah, so that's going to do it for this headlight video, episode 2. Appreciate you guys checking it out. Hopefully you'll come back again and see what we got going on. Thanks.